People were angry about it.
Sorry, people were angry about it.
Oh my gosh, people get angry about me doing a whole bunch of stuff.
As lawyers, what is it that makes us feel like we have to shrink ourselves into this box?
I'm not gonna burn out at 35. When you have people grinding and grinding and grinding, they're burning out so young.
I'm just like, oh my gosh, everyone just needs to do whatever the hell they want.
Being a multi-dimensional professional is almost required in this generation.
I had already dealt with sexism in law school and in articling, and to still have that internalized misogyny really sucks.
It's tough to break. They're changing the game and the ruling of professionalism, and I really do love that.
Law tries to make you shrink yourself into this certain mold, but body and diet culture tries to make you physically shrink yourself into a certain mold, and it's always changing. You can't win.
We never win. I'm not a traditional lawyer. I've never been a traditional lawyer. I won't be a traditional lawyer. It's just not who I am. You know, my hope one day is to walk New York Fashion Week.
Like that, you know how badass that is? Welcome back to Non-Billable Hours, the show where everything's made up and the points don't matter. No, wait. I'm your host, Odette. I'm a lawyer, and this is the podcast where we talk to lawyers, former, current, about navigating life while we juggle busy legal practices and everything else that the world throws at us. I am so thrilled today to introduce someone who truly embodies power, authenticity, grace. Her name is Heather Reese, and she is an attorney in America. Heather Reese is a personal injury lawyer, but she's not your average personal injury lawyer. She is a Latina, she's a skilled negotiator, she's a fearless advocate, and her impact doesn't stop at the courthouse doors. She is also a beautiful model. She is a content creator, she's a motivational speaker, and she champions body positivity and intersectional empowerment. And she also talks about resting without guilt, which I think is pretty huge for all of us. We're chatting virtually because she's in the United States. But before we jump into it, please like this video and subscribe right now. I'll wait. It's free, and my subscriber count right now is at 69, and we just, can we change that, please? Okay, now that you've done that, let's get into it. Hi, Heather. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. What was your motivation for going to law school in the first place?
My best friend's dad was a lawyer. When I was in high school, I literally hated school. I was like, this is the most boring thing in the world. And what he would let me do sometimes is go with him to court. So at a really young age in high school, I got to go see him do arbitrations and trials, and it really sparked something in me. And for me, what it was his ability to communicate facts in a way that compelled other people. I said, I need to be able to do what that person is doing. Whatever that is, it's almost magic. Because we all have the same information, right? Yeah. It's just the way that you're able to put it across in front of an arbitration panel or in front of a jury. Yeah. I found to be just so intoxicating. And I said, I want to be able to do that. So whatever I have to do to be able to do that, that's what I'm going to do.
So at that point where you're like, okay, I know I need to get into law school, which means I need to get good grades to get into a good undergrad or college. So is that kind of your motivation to pay more attention in school?
It should have been, but it was definitely... It was definitely not. I've always found that I'm a resourceful person. I might not be the best person in school, but I'm going to be really good at extracurricular activities. I'm going to be really good at engaging and trying to figure out other ways to get involved in the law. So I interned at a lot of different places, and I got to get, firsthand knowledge experience in the legal space. And I think for me, that was just enough to keep me going in school. I went to the alma mater that my best friend's dad went to, and it just happened to be in Delaware.
Nice. I love that you went to the same school as the man who prompted you to want to become a lawyer.
No, I mean, he's a big part of my life. I call him my dad. Aww. He's actually walking me halfway down the aisle at my wedding, so I'm pretty excited about it.
He must be so honored too, because to have that much of an impact on someone that they literally choose a life path because of you, that's a huge impact, right? My parents are not lawyers. Mm-hmm. My mom is a scientist and my dad was a lab tech, and I'm adopted too. So my adopted parents are a scientist and a lab tech. The law is so different than the science field. So I think for me, it was always butting heads with my mom because there's such a clear-cut answer in science, right? Yeah. And there really isn't. There's that gorgeous gray area in the law. Were your parents surprised when you went to law school, or were they like, oh no, that's so Heather. She's that's her for sure. I mean, I don't think they were surprised. I think it was definitely something that
everyone had always talked about since I was little. I mean, I struggle with ADHD, and I think that growing up with that, that was kind of a challenge. And I think people kind of maybe underestimated me getting into law school and becoming a lawyer because of that. So I think that was more shocking to people. I think probably also a little bit my parents, because of the fact that, you see me in regular school not making an effort. And then, you hear me being so passionate about becoming a lawyer and, the law and like listening to cases and being far more involved in that. So I think, that's the case for a lot of ADHD kids and a lot of ADD kids is that, when you find that interest, it can kind of envelop everything about you.
Did you always know that you wanted to do personal injury law when you started law school?
Yeah, no, he's a personal injury lawyer. So that's the kind of law that I saw growing up.
Yeah.
I interned at the district attorney's office, so in the prosecutor's office. And that was very, very interesting for me and honestly very eye-opening. I worked with contempt for PFAs, which protections from abuse. And it was just... it was such a different type of law. And, I was so moved by it. I really loved all I got to learn about it. But the reality of it was for me was that I thought it was too heavy for me to be able to do long term. And then additionally in that, this is like a harsh reality of being, I guess maybe American, but you have a whole bunch of student loans, and the reality is that public interest, like you're not going to get paid as much.
No, that's a massive reality for so many people, right? Like I'm the same. I graduated law school with, and it's even more expensive in the States. But in Canada, a lot of people, like you graduate with, north of $100,000 worth of debt, in addition to any undergrad loans you might have. And our interest, I don't think is as wild as it is down there. But even still, you're under a lot of pressure to start paying that back. And that does guide a lot of people because they're like, okay, well, I'm going to spend 10 years paying back my student loans. And that's like the first 10 or 20 or 30 years of my career. And then I want to be making enough money that I can like kind of make up for that. It's a big commitment. And I don't think sometimes all of us know how much of a commitment we're getting ourselves into with the financial piece of law school, right?
Yeah, I think that was definitely not explained a lot at all in any of the schooling that I ever went to. And like, my friends all say the same thing. I think that loans and the way that you take out loans and how much they're going to affect you, you're just so excited about going to law school. You're so excited about getting in. You're so excited about becoming a lawyer that, if somebody isn't really like sitting you down and explaining it to you in a way that is like digestible for you to understand, it's really easy to get wrapped up in it and not realize all that's happening.
I understand nothing.
But then you come out and you're excited about being a lawyer, and then you get this bill and you're like, holy moly, like this is like for the rest of my life.
And I know that you were moved by, wanting to do a different type of law, but I'd argue you're still doing a lot of good.
Personal injury kind of had that same mindset for me where I'm helping injured people at no wrongdoing of their own. I'm still definitely, in my mind and in reality, helping people that are injured that, deserve to be made whole again in some capacity.
Yeah, they deserve representation. They deserve good representation and competent lawyers. And without that, the system doesn't work. I know you saw your friend's dad doing it, but when you started practicing personal injury, was it what you thought it would be like, or was there anything about it that surprised you?
What did kind of surprise me is the difference being a woman in law versus being a man in law is.
Oh my God.
Because obviously he's like a middle-aged white man and I'm not. Because I was very much seeing everything through the lens of him, which I think also benefited me in a lot of ways. And the same thing with the way that I was raised by my mom. My mom was a scientist in a time when there weren't so many women scientists. And she was in a lot of rooms where she was kind of the only woman in the room. So from even a young age, my mom, along with my best friend's dad, really instilled in me that I was going to present myself to the world and, speak about myself in a way that is with the highest level of confidence. It was kind of like a negative and a benefit. It was a negative because I was like, wait, they're not going to treat me like they treated him. Mm-hmm. But then also it gave me the opportunity to kind of really harness it on the things that my mother had taught me, which was like, you're gonna take what you're deserving of, and you're gonna ask, and then see what somebody says back in response, but you're never gonna be afraid to ask for what you deserve.
And it's really powerful to have that instilled in you when you start practicing law, and not something you kind of learn a bunch of years in. For me personally, I don't think I realized the gravity of how different women and people of color and people in the queer community might be treated in the courts. It was a very gradual, like, piecemeal understanding. Step by step, ooh, baby. And I entered it so naively, and I think I did allow myself to get treated in a way different from my white male colleagues around me for too long. Whereas it sounds like you kind of came in knowing your worth, knowing that you deserve to be treated just like your best friend's dad. Your mom gave you that confidence, and so you came in being like, there's no reason for them not to, they might not want to treat me the same, but there's no reason for them not to, and I'm not going to give them permission to not treat me the way I deserve to be treated.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely probably ruffled a lot of feathers because I always say something back. And I always have at the beginning of my career. I remember my best friend's dad being like, you can't ask for a raise so soon into your job. And I remember asking for a raise pretty soon in my first job.
I want a raise and benefits.
Like, why not? My old assistant / paralegal used to say to me, and she's like a Gen Z, and I think Gen Zs have some of the best advice because they are just wild.
Oh my God.
She said to me, some people are okay eating crumbs and some aren't. Never be somebody that's okay eating crumbs. I think that is kind of how I've always lived my life, but I just never heard it said that way. And I think it's like sometimes the older generation was accepting of a lot of the things that they probably shouldn't have been. But when it came to differential in pay, when it came to like not having adequate vacation time, sick time, all these different things that may or may not have been affecting them. Healthy work-life balance. Whereas like the newer generation is very much asking for what they deserve.
And I think kind of one of the things I've realized, because I do agree with you, like the generation before us, certainly like our parents, were happy kind of giving their everything to a job, because at the end of the day, for the most part, it was more like that job was kind of guaranteed, and a pension was guaranteed, and your benefits were guaranteed, and so many homes could be one-income houses, and they could still afford a home. And now it's like, even if you give your everything to a job, usually one income isn't enough. You know, your job isn't always guaranteed. There's way more moving around, and there's way less stability guaranteed to you if you sell your soul to a place. And I think people are less willing to sell their souls to places that don't have their back, you know?
I think that back in the day, loyalty to a company meant something.
Yeah.
And that does mean something to some businesses and some companies. I'm not saying it doesn't. Mm-hmm. I respect the older generation. Yeah. But it's also like in that same notion, I'm like, I have to be very aware of what is happening to me and what I'm willing to accept from anybody, regardless of the generation that they come from. Because I think that's where a lot of people also get wrapped up, is it's not always disrespectful to ask for something in a stern way. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people think it's talking back when it's you advocating for yourself. And I also think that also comes more into when you're a woman, right? Like she's more aggressive, more bossy, right? Those things stem from when you're little, right? As opposed to like, he has leadership skills.
Bitch, I heard that. Ooh, barracuda.
They're just different adjectives that are constantly used. One's more negative and one's more positive. And I think for me, I've always said, you know, I'm going to advocate the best that I can for myself, because if not me, then who? Because at the end of the day, we aren't living in our parents' generation anymore. That's the harsh reality, right? Yeah. I can't live on one salary anymore, which is what I always say when people are like, oh, you do all these multiple things. And I'm like, because being and a lot of older generations don't understand that. They're like, wait, why? Why isn't this your whole life?
Yeah.
And it's like, because being a multi-dimensional professional is almost required in this generation.
Yeah. We came up and we were raised by a generation who had that reality, and we kind of worked to that reality. I thought that an undergrad was required to be successful, and then I thought a professional degree was required, and then I thought at that point I'm guaranteed a high salary, I'm guaranteed a stable job, I'm guaranteed respect in my field, I'm guaranteed all those things. And then you finish and you realize that, oh, now it's, 2015 and nothing is guaranteed anymore. And so we kind of went through school in one economy and came out the other side, and we were like, oh, it's way different over here. and the lessons we were told about keep your head down, work hard, and you'll be fine. That's not all. It's way more multifaceted, like you've said.
We were all spun this story that this is what we were supposed to do, right? You go to college, you go to graduate school, and it's even more if you go to graduate school. I mean, then you're guaranteed even more money.
Yeah.
And I sit back and I see my friends who went to trade schools who are making just as much as me with zero student debt. And now I'm like, hey, listen, if my kids want to go to a trade school, go to a trade school.
Absolutely.
Like, people are coming out of there with almost little to no student debt, and they're making six figures. I mean, the jobs are definitely different, but hey, listen, like the financial benefit of it is remarkable.
We put off our income earning until you're done law school, you're done. Here we call it articling. I think there you call it interning.
Yep.
But yeah, you put all of it off. And now I'm just like, oh my gosh, everyone just needs to do whatever the hell they want, because there's no, this you're going to make money, this you're not. It's like, if you're good, if you're passionate, if you know what you're doing, you can make money doing almost anything these days. But there's no one guarantee that a certain career or profession or education will get you there.
What is the law school pipeline in Canada?
In
so like
Canada?
for us, it's 4 years undergrad, 3 years law school, and then you take the bar, and then you're a barred attorney, and then you can practice. You don't have to, like, at least in the state that I'm in. So I'm in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, you don't have to like intern under anybody. You don't have to do any of that. You get, right after you take the bar, you get to practice.
Okay, so here there's an
And you
extra
pass
year.
it.
Yes, you take the bar and you pass it. Here there's 1 year difference, so you have to article, then you can practice.
So our states are all different too, right? So it's like, there is something called the Uniform Bar Exam, which has come out since I graduated and since I went to law school and since I took the bar. I think it was the last year that Pennsylvania did the state-specific bar. So you used to have to memorize all of the federal law, and then you also had to memorize state-specific law because you were tested on both.
Oh my God.
Then they transitioned, like some of the other states, into what's called the UBE, where you don't have to know the state-specific law, you just have to know the federal law. And I remember being like, oh, that's so unfair. Like, the bar, but I'm so like not a bar exam person.
Yeah.
During my bar exam, there were people throwing up in the bathrooms. And I just remember being like, this is a crazy thing, and that is happening, that people are like losing everything, in them to take this exam. Like it's so crazy. And I remember me being like, am I going to go barf in the bathroom? Like, what am I doing? And then there's like, I'm like, no, I just got to hold it together. Like, you just got to hold it together to take this exam. It's so easy to get lost in that dark headspace, and it's crazy. It's really crazy the way that this profession has, I think, very little support and or sometimes awareness about the effects that it has physically and mentally on people. And like, I know that they make an effort by like, attempting to have like mental health groups and like all of these different things, but the reality of it is that this profession across the board is just like very toxic and very like anti, what's good for you. I'm like a girl who stands up for myself about like vacation and work-life balance, and like when I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not going to burn out at 35. You know what I mean? And that's what happens is when you have people grinding and grinding and grinding, they're burning out so young. And it's like, I just remember telling myself I didn't want to burn out at 35.
I don't blame you. And honestly, I feel like the tide is changing. But even today, like I had a call with another lawyer who is of the old guard. And he was like perfectly pleasant, but also, hi doggy.
I'm so sorry.
No, don't be. I love dogs.
Can I pet that dog?
No.
Can I pet that dog?
No, he's
Can I
sleeping.
pet that dog?
He was perfectly pleasant, but then it was also like kind of like bullying me. My day-to-day reality. Like it is so disheartening sometimes to wake up in the morning being like, who's gonna yell at me today? Who's gonna hang up on me today? Who's gonna call me a little girl and assume I'm assistant today? And you're in the same, you do litigation just like I do, and it is an industry and a legal profession that is built around conflict. And we got brought in once there's a lawsuit and once the parties are already here. Sometimes waking up, you do feel a bit like, what fresh hell awaits me today?
What fresh hell tomorrow will bring?
You're right. It's the law societies and the professional boards and stuff, I think, are trying their best. But conflict is so ingrained in what we do.
I always say, like, I don't know who's going to be mad at me today. Like, who has decided to wake up and choose violence with me?
Yeah.
I never thought, I guess I was naive where I didn't think that inappropriateness was so heavily still done, I think, in like the legal community.
Yeah.
And I was always like, well, you know, it might happen to somebody else, but it's not going to happen to me. Like, I'm in a unique breed. Like, I'm not like,
I don't put up with it.
Like, yeah, I was like, well, I'm also like, I don't fit like conventional beauty standards. So I'm like, because I don't fit conventional beauty standards, at least conventional American beauty standards, right? I was like, I don't have anything to worry about. It's not gonna be me. And then like, I was like, wow. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, people just across the border sometimes very inappropriate.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that was very shocking to me. Like, that was very eye-opening, right? Because my only experience in the legal community had been in the experience of the eyes through a man.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is like, they should have told you about this in law school. Like, this should have been a whole class about, like, you know, what you're going to handle and deal with sometimes as a woman in this field. You really have to work for good people who like support you and back you and understand where you come from on a lot of things. Because I know I've heard horror stories, you know, where a lot of people have to deal with a lot of horrible things. Yeah. You know, I'm really lucky, I'm blessed where I work. In addition to like, you know, just dealing with regular life as a lawyer, like I also suffer from autoimmune conditions. Yes. So because I suffer from autoimmune conditions, I have lupus and RA. There's like days where I'm like, I can't get out of bed.
Yeah. You
have to really find people in places that are really willing to understand. But you also have to put your foot down, you know what I mean? For a lot of times to be like, this is what I deserve. This is what I'm worth. This is what is fair. Mm-hmm. And I think, the kind of dance of law and being a lawyer and working in a office and advocating for other people is such a unique, profession. Like, I don't really think there's any other profession that is like us. Because I like to think, you know, people always relate us to like medical doctors, right? They're like, well, they also had to go through this rigorous schooling. And I'm like, yeah, but I feel like they're so much more respected. Like, I feel like a doctor, somebody is always like, no, like, we love a doctor. But like when you sit at a table at a wedding and somebody's like, what are you? And you're like, I'm a lawyer. Their face is not the same when they hear that you're a lawyer versus somebody else saying they're a doctor. So I think, you know, we already deal with this like kind of negative connotation in our profession as it is. For me, it's been like finding joy outside of being a lawyer and standing on that. And I think, again, that's why I advocate for people being able to do things outside of being a lawyer, because that's really the only way you're not going to burn out is if you find joy in other things and you let those things also be a massive part of your life, and being a lawyer not being your only identity.
And that's something that I grappled with for I've been doing this for 10 years now, and up until like really the pandemic. And even now still, I struggle like showing up in spaces not being lawyer-like. It's hard for me to show up on places like LinkedIn where, you know, I've got like the director of my company or like, you know, this, that, and the other, and mediators, and have them see these sides of me that aren't a lawyer. And then something that I realize is that like, that's literally just my job.
It's 100% just your job.
It's just my job. Like, my mom worked at Tim Hortons growing up. My dad was an accountant. My dad didn't go to people's houses at dinner and audit their taxes. And my mom didn't show up at the mall and like make people coffee walk who were walking by her. Like, you are more, just because we have this job that for some reason seems to just want us to shrink into this mold. This very specific kind of mold that's like, that's the story we tell ourselves. And I literally have to like beat it out of myself sometimes. So I'm really glad to see literally people like you. When you sent me your bio and I was going through and I was like, and I had seen your social media and stuff, but I was like, this is amazing. I love that she's showing up in all of these spaces and being like, I'm not just a lawyer. I'm also a model. I'm also a content creator. I'm also a speaker. I'm all of these things. A Latina, like there's not just one version of Heather. And there's not just one version of anyone, but as lawyers, what is it that makes us feel like we have to shrink ourselves into this box?
I think it's a lot to have to do with the old guard. So I always tell people like being a lawyer is my profession. Heather is my brand. Like Heather is who I am.
Right.
Like it's like that's just one facet of who I am. And honestly, the last facet I tell people, like when I am anywhere else in the world or anywhere else, like when I'm at a modeling thing, I'm not like, oh, I'm a lawyer. Like, you know what I mean? Like it is the last thing I kind of open with because it is the thing that people are the most taken back by. And I think for me, it's like because it's not my whole personality. And I know people that struggle with like posting things. Like I posted my speaking events on LinkedIn, right? Like I did I spoke at a House of Chingones event in Texas, in Austin. And I remember being like, oh, I'm going to post this. And somebody else saying to me like, oh, but it's like your like lawyer and your lawyer LinkedIn. And I'm like, so I'm like, and it's the same thing. Like when people are like, you post all this stuff, like you're very open with your life. And I'm like, and I have a life, right? Like that's the whole thing, right? Everyone has a life. Yeah. I made a decision 2 years ago to share my life on the internet, right? I was going through a divorce and I said, this is what I want to do. This is how I'm going to heal with it. And I said, I'm going to show the good, the bad, and the ugly of every part of my life. And I've tried to stay true to doing that. And I said, I'm going to show up authentically in who I am. And the people that I've meant to find me have found me. And I've met amazing people. And some of my best friends are people that I've met through the internet, social media, and my series where I showcase Latina owned businesses has introduced me to thousands of people and has changed my life in so many ways. And so has social media as a whole. I got my first modeling gig from Crusades of Curves, who I connected with on Threads. There have been so many amazing things that have come from me not being a lawyer. Yeah. And I think it is the old guard who really, really wants to box us into being one professional. Like this should be your whole life. Like you should wake up and dream of being a partner at a firm and having your name on a wall. And maybe that is some people's dream. And I'm not here to say it shouldn't be. Like if you want to be on the partner track at some amazing firm, go do it. That's amazing. Like I advocate for women to be in this legal space, and I advocate for women to be managerial partner tracks, because I think that's the other difference is that while women have taken up or are now the majority of graduating law school classes, at least in the United States, from what I can recall, they're also not represented in managing partner positions or like self-run firms. I have gotten to meet some amazing Latina-owned law firms and women-owned law firms throughout my social media journey, and it's been so eye-opening. But I think we are not, as women and as people and as millennials, going to say and going to accept that I'm just going to only be a lawyer.
Posting it on social media doesn't make it any more or less true. Like, you are always going to be that person outside of your profession, and just because you're choosing to share it doesn't mean that you're a worse lawyer, or you're not as dedicated 100%. To your role, or you're not, you know what I mean? Like the fact that you go through these bouts, and I'm sorry to hear about like your health, but the fact that you go through bouts and you are still, you know, killing it. You are still doing your depositions, do them from bed. Screw it, I'll do it from bed. Like that, you know how badass that is?
I do. And I am always like, I got to have my camera off though, guys, because I can't have everyone see what I look like. Because I'm like, listen, I'm showing up with little to no makeup. I'm showing up, you know, like laying in bed, because I'm technically supposed to be like laying down most of the time. So most of the time I am laying down. All of these parts that make you human make you a better advocate, right? The people that have chosen me to be their attorneys have chosen me because they've found me outside of things other than me being a lawyer. So I've gotten a lot of cases from me being a model, me being on social media, me speaking at events, me doing all of these things with the Latina community. Yeah. Those have all been reasons. People they weren't like, we want her because she's a lawyer. They were like, oh, we like her as a person. And then we found out that she's a lawyer. And then this thing happened to us, whatever happened, and now I know who to call, right? Yeah. And I've always wanted organic relationships in terms of clients like that. You know, I didn't want it to be as strictly like, you know, I just think that she's, you know, untouchable bulldog of a human. Because the reality of it is sometimes being a bulldog isn't the best way to win. Isn't the best way to get the most compensation for your client, at least on my end, right?
Almost always.
There's an art to what we do. Yeah. also in that same breath, when it comes to being in different spaces, being conservative doesn't make you a better professional than me, right? Like
No.
somebody, and I mean conservative in terms of the way that somebody may dress or act,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So like, I have gotten so many comments about like especially on my TikTok, right?
Yeah.
Where people are like, "Oh my God, this like lawyer is wearing a crop top. She's probably a horrible lawyer. Like, I wouldn't want to represent me." And I'm like, me wearing a crop top has nothing to do with my advocacy skills, right? Like I'm gonna wear a crop top. It was hot out,
Oh my God.
and I ate in that crop top. So like, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
like
I can look
it's
good
like-
and be smart. Like, do you not understand that those are two things that literally have nothing to do with each other? Like,
I don't know where a headset ties into patriotism.
you can be a model and a lawyer, and why does one negate the other? And the length of the shirt you're wearing somehow diminishes your knowledge and your brain and your professional acumen. Like, how does that make sense?
I think that that's a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow, right?
Right.
It's a tough pill that that an attorney isn't buttoned up,
Yeah.
isn't wearing like a dress to her ankles. You know what I mean? Like I've always said, like, I'm going to be fashionable and I'm going to be an attorney. Like I'm going to show up, but I'm still going to be me. Like I didn't want to show up in a way that wasn't authentic to me, right? Because then I'm not giving my clients the best representation that it is. Like me wearing a button-up white shirt and then wearing a boring pantsuit set that is like a hue of gray is not going to make me a better advocate that day than if I were to show up in like my red snakeskin dress with a black blazer, right? Because professional is like an old term that it was used to like gatekeep a lot of people in like from the beginning, right? Because those clothes that were deemed professional were out of financial reach for a lot of groups of people.
Exactly.
So there's also that, like the layer of professionalism to me is so like so deep and downplayed and deep rooted in things that I don't support anyway, that I'm like, I'm a good advocate. That's all I want my clients to understand and know and to say about me, is that I advocated for them as zealously as I could.
Absolutely. It's so funny that you say that, because I remember when I was an articling student, I was in motions court, and I remember this lawyer stood up, and we have to wear robes. So like we wear those like British style robes in court, but she had this bright pink lipstick on, and she had these like really high heel stilettos. And my first thought as a woman who was articling was, what are those shoes and the lipstick that she's wearing? Does she not know she's in court? And now I'm so ashamed that I thought that. But then I remember the judge, the woman had a motion brief like this thick, and it was for a child that was injured, and she was getting the court to approve the settlement that she had got for her client. And so she was advocating there on behalf of an injured minor. She did all of this work. The judge commented and commended her on such a thorough and like well done brief, and was like, you made it so easy, da, 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 da. And at that moment, I remember my mind switching over and being like, oh, but she just like killed it. So yes, you can do both. But like the fact that I'm a woman, I'm sitting there in court, I'm an articling student, I had already dealt with sexism in law school and in articling, and to still have that internalized misogyny, really sucks.
It's tough to break.
It's so tough to break. And even now, sometimes I have to like talk myself out of it and be like, oh, like when I ran this trial a few years ago, and I remember trying to make myself look so like, for loss of a better term, like dowdy. I was like, okay, no makeup the whole trial, no makeup, black flats, no nail polish, like hair pulled back, like I looked like a British man.
I have this theory that if you cut all her hair off, she'd look like a British man.
And I was like, maybe if I look like this, the jury will take me seriously.
Right.
And it sucks that like we have that internal check on ourselves sometimes as women, and I'm so I love seeing you be like, that is not how I am going to show up in my profession, because I know I can be a good lawyer and not ascribe to that like misogynistic way of looking at our gender.
I kind of deal with it on a multi-level, right? I deal with it as like a minority woman. I deal with it as like big plus size, right? Because that's the other thing. Like everyone kind of expects plus size women to show up in like one of two ways, like either very meek and don't want somebody to like notice that they exist, or very outward. And I think I'm kind of like not either. Like I'm just me. Like I'm just outspoken. But I'm also like, if the situation calls for me to not speak, I'm not going to speak, right? Like I know the room, I know how to read a room, I know how to understand my audience, and I think you can kind of have an intertwining of all of these different things. It's kind of an interesting thing about the law, where like there is also like a lot of old guard women who feel the same way, right?
Yeah.
Who see women that come in the younger generations, and you know, like Gen Z is out here wearing like tube tops to court.
I know.
Like they like, I mean, they're eating in their fits, and like I love that for them. Now I am not that edgy.
Yeah.
I'm far too millennial to be that edgy. But I mean, like, they're changing the game and the ruling of professionalism. And I really do love that. Like, I love that so much because I think it is so misogynistic and so even deeper than misogynistic, like socioeconomic, like way in terms of, you know, if you can't afford it, then you won't be viewed professional. So I think for me, like, I've always liked to kind of showcase clothes that are from all range of expensive types, right? Like I remember I used to, when I was first on social media, show really expensive like pieces that you can wear as a plus size woman. Because that's the other thing, right? Finding quote unquote professional clothes as a plus size woman is not an easy task.
Right.
And when you're going to do it, you're probably going to pay twice as much as what your like straight sized friend is going to pay. Like blazers, I've worked with a woman out of New York, and I've had blazers made for me, and they are gorgeous, but they are expensive, but they are gorgeous. So to have something designed that fits perfectly for me is not an easy task. So I tried to showcase things across the board, across the price line, where I did showcase clothes that were like, okay, I'm going to show you my entire fit. It's all under $100.
And you are a plus size model. And so when did you get into that?
So it was last year. I was on Threads, and I saw a thread looking for a model out of the East Coast. And I like commented, and I was like, hey, I'm not like a formal model. I'd love to be considered. It was with Crusades of Curves. I love Mallory. She runs Crusades of Curves. And she was like, hey, we actually love to work with new people. Send me a video of you walking. And I remember like getting that, I think at like, I don't know, 6 a.m. or something. And I was going to the office, and I said something to my paralegal at the time. And I said, you need to film me walking down the hallway right now. Because what I've learned about law and what I've learned about the modeling space is they have one thing in common, is they don't like people having to wait for anything.
Why is no one ready?
And I remember being like, okay, we need to send this to her now. Like I needed to send her yesterday before she even asked. So I had her film me walking up and down the hallway at me at work that day. And I did, and she was like, you're booked. And I walked that runway that September, and then I just actually walked the runway for her again in June. Was it June? June in LA. And it's been like an amazing, life-changing thing. Like she absolutely changed my life in that notion by giving me that first chance. And also what I love about her and what I love about Crusades of Curves is they curate this group of women that are all very like just great women, just great models, great empowering. Like you hear stories about models, and I had never walked before. All of these women that were in this space had walked probably thousands of times. They have all had modeling experience. I'm walking in like I have no idea what I'm doing. They were all so helpful. And I've met so many amazing friends from that singular event who were all like, yeah, let me show you how to walk. Like, let's practice walking before you're going to walk down. Like, let me help you with your hair. Like all of these different things that I just found so like, it was the greatest experience. You know, my hope one day is to walk New York Fashion Week. I think that we have to show the world that beauty comes in all shapes and sizes, and that especially Latinas come in all shapes and sizes, because you see a lot of us on TV. When we're on TV, not a lot of us, but when we are on TV, they're not built like me. And I think I wanted young girls to understand that you can love yourself at any size. And my life isn't about living for somebody else's narration on what they deem to be beauty or healthy or any of these other things. And I've always worked hard at, trying to live a healthy lifestyle. And that doesn't always mean skinny. You know what I mean? Like there are tons of skinny people that are not healthy.
Oh my God, yeah.
There are people across the board. So I really wanted my dream is to be able to showcase that one day and show people that, you know, you can be loving and comfortable in your own skin, and that beauty comes in all shapes and sizes.
And I wish growing up we had that message from people like you
100%.
more. almost every woman around our age at some point has struggled with body image or eating disorders or over-exercising or all three. And I know that I've struggled with all three, and so much of it was, it's funny that we talked about like law tries to make you shrink yourself into this certain mold, but like body and diet culture tries to make you physically shrink yourself into a certain mold, and it's always changing. Like the tiny waist, the big butt, or the big boobs, or the rail thin, like I hate this term, but like the cocaine chic. And then, you know, okay, thin is in again, and the low rise jeans, and it's like, you can't win. Like no matter what you do, your body type.
We never win.
We never win. You are always too much or too little of something for someone. And the reality is that no one else has to live in your body. No one else has to live in Heather's body. No one else has to feel what you feel and do what you do. So why should anyone else have any say over the literal size of your waist or the literal pant size you wear? Like, and you're right, health and weight are not inextricably linked that way. And I'm so interested that you're recently a model, because to me, like, I've seen your photos and I've seen your stuff, and I honestly thought you'd been doing it forever. So I love that it's a more recent thing. Was that something that you always wanted to do, or you saw because Threads, I think, is how we connected, but
yeah, I love Threads.
Yeah, it's amazing. So did you see that and you're like, oh, that's something I want to do, or was that always a goal of yours?
When I went through my divorce, I kind of said, like, I'm going to redefine myself in every possible way. And I used to always think, like, I've always known I was that girl, but I always thought, like, and I don't mean that like in a cocky way. I just mean
no,
like
I freaking love it.
Thinking that they're that girl. Like, but I just mean, I used to always say to myself, like, no, this is for me, but maybe not in this lifetime.
Right.
And then when I went through the divorce, I said, no, I'm going to do everything that is meant for me. And it's meant for me in every lifetime. And I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to let somebody tell me no. Like, I'm going to try, and then I'm going to see what somebody says, because nothing kind of breaks you like a divorce. So I think for me, I was like, nothing can hurt me ever again. And I'm going to go for all these things, because I think that these are things that were meant for me. Mm-hmm. And that now that I have my shine back, I'm going to just do whatever I can with it.
There's this life and there's today. And when you go through something life-changing like that, it really does make you think, like, I can look at every day as a new opportunity to do something that I dream of, or to be better in some way. And it doesn't necessarily mean you need to like burn it all down every time.
Absolutely.
But, like, why not chase your dreams? It's your life.
Every opportunity in your life you need to go for, because nothing is promised. Like, nothing is guaranteed, really. And that you have to really not be afraid of rejection. Because I think, like, a lot of people are so afraid of hearing no that they're so afraid to ask.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, being afraid to ask is, like, the most dangerous thing that somebody can have, right? Because right now, in this time and space, like, time is the most valuable currency that you have, that anyone has. Yeah. And that time is something that cannot be given back to you. Yeah. So you need to use your time wisely. And that means that enjoying life as much as you can, enjoying the people around you as much as you can, and being very, very intentional with who you surround yourself with, and intentional in how you spend your time. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? Like, you need to realize what is important to you, and you need to do it, because if not, like you said, nothing is promised. You know, there's only the here and now.
Yeah, and no one's going to do it for you. Like, no one's going to say, oh, Heather, I saw a thread about they want to hire models, so, like, I'm going to make you walk them down the hallway. Like, you made that decision for yourself. Was there any hesitation to get into the modeling because of you being a lawyer, or did that not even enter your mind?
You know, honestly, it didn't enter my mind until after I did it, and then when people were angry about it.
Sorry, people were angry about it.
Oh my gosh, people get angry about me doing a whole bunch of stuff. Like, my DMs are flooded. But I think, like, I always say, as much as mean things I get probably twice as many good things. Like, twice as many young girls being like, you know, I saw you and I really want to go to law school. Or, like, businesses writing to me being like, I'm so glad that you showcased this. Like, you know, your friend from wherever bought this. And that's like the biggest thing about, you know, my series is that I have people from all around the United States, right? And I have this because I'm a lawyer. I have a lot of lawyers that follow me, right?
Yes.
So I have older lawyers or young lawyers or lawyers from all around. So these companies that may have never been seen by these consumers are now getting consumed by this. When I get like upset about anything, like I just go through and read them because I'm like, this is why I do the things that I do. And this is why I'm willing to put myself out on the internet because the same thing with modeling. Like I've had so many young girls say something to me and being like, you know, I'm glad that I never saw somebody like me and thought somebody like me could rock a runway. And then I saw you. And I'm like, no, I'm glad because that's the whole reason I do this, right? Is that so the next young girl doesn't have to go and starve herself and can go realize that there's beauty in exactly who she is and she doesn't have to change herself. And then I think a lot of people struggle with self-love. And I think when you truly have self-love, you no longer seek the validation of others. So when other people say things to me, it really doesn't mean anything to me, right? Because like you can hate me all you want. And I'm probably just like chilling on the couch with my dog and my fiance.
There's like that really meme that's like, imagine hating me and I'm over here doing this and it's just like someone being
like
cute.
Literally that's it.
Never at the feds investigate you. You ain't never at the barrels wanna date you.
It's not going to do anything for me in the long run. I'm going to just like does something to you, you know? And I think a lot of people were worried about like employers and like how my employers would feel. My stuff is all social. My bosses can see it. You know what I mean? Like I never hide anything. Like there's nothing to hide. And when I first got employed at my job, I made it very clear that I was on social media. But I think that there was a lot of hesitation for people. Just like would it reflect badly on anybody? And I always make super clear when I go on podcasts or when I do anything, you know, everything I do is my own, right? This is my own personal opinions, experiences, environments, whatever.
This is your
like
you time. You're in your hoodie.
Right.
You're talking to a Canadian, like.
Your cops are called Mounties.
This isn't you at work.
No, literally, and that's what I always say to my boss. Like, I'm always saying this to like all the people that I work with. I'm like, you would be surprised at people that I meet, like the people that I get to get to talk with and get to be like involved with. Like I'm so interested by the Canadian experience because it's so like different, right? So I'm always like, what is it like on the other side? Did you deal with the 2000s thinness with like the low-rise jeans where your hip bones had to show?
That's a good question. Yes. Definitely growing up in like Ontario. For the most part in my demographic, my age group, abso-freaking-lutely. We were part of the Special K for 2 meals a day and a small dinner generation.
Wow, that's messed up.
Like nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. And because
oh my gosh, I remember that.
You remember that? I'm like, there are a lot of things that taste better than skinny feels and I can name 5 without trying. Like
a cake.
Okay. I've actually never been to Canada and I want to go so bad.
Oh my God, you should come. Come, I'll show you around.
I need to. I'm going to.
Please,
like,
especially while your dollar's super strong.
Come
on up. You'll live like a queen.
That's all I need. It's all I say less. Queen, say less.
All the custom blazers you can dream of.
But I really want to see the Northern Lights. And I'm like, can you see them in Canada?
Yes.
Okay, well then I will. I mean, I was gonna come anyway.
Yeah.
Now that you told me the dollar is strong, I'm like sold. Sold. I'll be there.
There are definitely parts of Canada you can see the Northern Lights. So yeah, so in the States, like I guess your best bet would be Alaska if you want to like stay American. But yeah, so northern Ontario and the territories. So like Northwest Territories, Yukon, and Iqaluit. Those 3, you're golden because you're above a certain this longitude. But we actually,
I don't know either.
this
way
one.
I don't know. I was going along. I was like,
you're like whatever. But
nice.
This wasn't your.
We actually saw the Northern Lights not too far from us last spring. There was like this weird thing going on with the way the light was hitting the earth. And so we drove like 3 hours from home and we saw the beautiful night sky and it was all green and it was dancing.
Oh my God. What a dream. That's all I want to see. And I love the cold. Amazing. Like, I love the cold. I'm such a big fan of the cold. And I'm like,
I have a country for you.
Right. I know. Now you're like selling it on me. I'm like, yes, say less. Like,
please
also, like, you always think about like whether or not your niche or your media or your market is like wanted or sought out in other places, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, in America, it's, you know, like I said, like you've seen, I showcase Latino, and Latinx brands.
Yes.
I expanded it to all BIPOC brands at the beginning of this year.
Amazing.
Given the state of where we're at. So I'm very intentional in the way that I spend money. I think that it's like the greatest form of activism that people can do.
Yeah.
Because the dollar has so much power. For me, it's like it's such an important way that people can be engaged in activism. And it's just always been something for me that I'm like, all my purses are always this one brand, Chasing Camila. And I'm like, this for me is like the best way, some people talk the talk, some people don't walk the walk.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I try really hard to do both.
Yeah.
And I think being a lawyer, you have this added benefit of being a little bit more financially sound sometimes than other people.
Yeah.
And I think if we do it, then other people kind of sometimes see it as something that's worth the effort of trying to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like if there was if I now know that there's a plus size scene up there, catch me in Canada.
Come up, I will greet you with open arms. How do you balance it all and still rest? Like, because I know in your bio you were talking about like the rest without guilt, and you're telling me about all these things you're doing. You've got a busy personal injury practice, you're doing modeling, you've got your social media stuff, and I think you do speaking as well. So like, when you rest, are you able to do that without feeling guilty?
Yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
I'm an associate at a firm, and I think that's a big part of why I am lucky. When I was first an attorney, I worked 12-hour days. I worked every weekend, and I let it be everything about who I was, and it made me iller.
Yeah.
And I said that, no, I can't do anything that's worth my health ever again, because my body doesn't function the same way everybody else's body is, right? So like if I get too stressed, too overwhelmed, or I am running myself too ragged, I'm in the hospital.
Yeah.
It's like a whole totally different game, right? So I think that's the reason why I don't feel guilty, because I say to the people that are questioning what I'm doing or my wellness, I say, I need to do this for me. Like I need to do this. Because if I don't, I'm going to end up in the hospital, and then I'm good for no one, right? And I think that's a hard thing for a lot of people to understand, right? Because they're like, you set really firm boundaries. And I say, yeah, I think wellness is really important.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. I'm actually speaking at a wellness event in Palm Springs in September. And this is a lot of what it is, right? Is that setting boundaries and making sure that you are doing these things without feeling guilt is 100% the only way that you can not burn out in this field.
Yeah.
Because you see great attorneys burning out.
Yep. I'm
not going to burn out.
No.
And the reason I'm not going to burn out is because I set boundaries. Like I heard the phrasing hard stop.
Oh.
And I was like, what is that? And they were like, yeah, no, it's like when you're done. Like you don't, like you can't, like you're done. Like a hard stop is like done.
Laptop.
And I was like, I've never had a hard stop in my life. So now I like kind of ease it in. I'm like, oh no, I have a hard stop at like 6:30. Like 6:30 is my hard stop. And like, I think that to me was like the most powerful phrasing I had ever heard. And I was like, why have I never heard this before? Like, I'm not saying I balance everything well.
Right.
I'm not saying that I'm the model that somebody should follow.
Right.
Because there have been tons of times where I've over promised like myself to do things. And I think what I have learned is now getting further into it and doing it longer, I now say like, hey, listen, I can't do this on this time frame. Because I would rather not oversell and underdeliver than undersell and overdeliver.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think that that's the big thing about being firm in what you do and setting boundaries and making work-life balance, right?
And staying well enough to do it for the long haul.
Yeah, that's the thing I always say. Like, I'm gonna go on vacation.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to go to I'm gonna go to St. Thomas.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna go to France. Like, I got engaged in France. But I think like sticking firm on the things that you're gonna do, like, the right people will still employ you. The right people will respect it. And as long as as long as you're doing what you need to do for your clients, like that's the biggest thing, right? I'm not a traditional lawyer. I've never been a traditional lawyer. I won't be a traditional lawyer. It's just not who I am. And I'm like, okay, well, that's also what I think has taught me a lot, is that I'm like, I used to try to like push things in, and now I'm like, no, I'm not going to push things in. I'm going to space them out the right way.
Yeah.
For my health.
Yeah.
You know, better for the overall long run.
Like, you kind of gotta space those things out as though you're gonna live forever, but pursue them as though you're gonna die tomorrow. Like,
100%.
Don't let time hold you back from pursuing things, but also don't try to squeeze everything into every day, because that's how you burn out. And hopefully it's a long career for you, you know, in the law, if you choose for it to be. Like, whatever you choose to do, I hope it's a long career for you. But the only way you can do that is if you preserve some of your energy for yourself.
100%.
You know, and I have found that actually having something to aim towards outside of my legal career, even though here, like on the podcast, I do talk to other lawyers, so it's like job adjacent, but I find that having something else to focus my time and energy actually gives me more energy, because it makes me have to stop working at a certain time. It makes me prioritize like getting my work done during the day, because like, oh, I'm shooting a podcast tonight, so I need to get this discovery report done. I need to get this mediation brief done because I need to go and prep for the podcast. And I find it makes me more productive in that realm, but it also makes me have a hard stop so that I can go do other things that make me really happy and give me joy, right?
I think it fills your cup, and I think that's so important.
Yeah.
I think that's why I advocate so much for wellness and so much for prioritizing your time with not to the detriment of your client, because you having things outside of the legal community make you want to be a better attorney, right? Like me being able to go to a content event or influencer event or go to a plus size modeling thing, that refills my cup.
Yes.
It is like the juice, the air, the oxygen that I need in my body to be like, yes, we are ready for another day, because we're going to get yelled at. And we can take it today. It makes you take the time to put yourself in the limelight and in the spotlight and worry about your needs, emotional, physical, environmental, and then you're able to go and give 100% to your clients. And I think a lot of people think that doing like worrying about the law 100% of the times makes that for you. And I think that is unrealistic for a lot of us, and it's not what happens. It ends up just draining you, and there's nothing refilling you, because the law is all you have. And unless you have that like boss who's going to say good job, which like I don't think I've ever had somebody say that to me, even when I've done a good job, because that's just not the legal community, right? Like we're not out here giving stars to people and saying like, great job, we're glad you got all that money for the client, or like you won that arbitration, or like way to go. Like that's not what's happening, right?
No,
it's expected. So I think like you're not getting that positive reinforcement. You're not getting that juice. And I think if you get that juice from finding love in other things and getting whole from other things, then you're able to come back with a clearer mindset and a better mindset when you go and do the legal stuff.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. It's good for your nervous system. It's good for your perspective. It makes you realize that like each day can sometimes feel like the be all end all. Like you get an email from a lawyer, you pissed off about something, and sometimes that can feel like the end of the world. And if you just sit in that, and if you allow that to like run your day, run your week, you know, ruin your weekend for yourself, like then you're not going to be a good lawyer, because you're always just going to be worrying about the next vitriol that's coming your way, or fixated on something that probably in the long run doesn't really matter that much. And how does that make you a better anything? Like a better person, a better lawyer, a better partner, a better, you know, dog mom, a better model, a better anything. Like it doesn't do you good in any realm of your life. So why do we let it have too much power over us?
100%.
And I love what you say about like going out and filling your cup with all these things. Because one thing I found from talking to lawyers through this podcast is like, I feel so much less alone with the stresses and the anxieties that I have. when I have more faces and people, and I'm like, you know, one day, I know there's going to be a day in the next few weeks where I'm going to have like a really hard like deposition, and I'm just going to be like, you know what, Heather's probably having a hard day and she's getting through it, so I'm going to get through it. And just like having those people like in your corner and just knowing people are out there doing the same thing and getting through it plays a huge part in our resilience, I think.
100%. I think the people that you meet and the people that you allow to be part of your life can really help shape your perspective. Have you ever had a dep that you just were like, damn, did this really happen? Like, did this person really say all this? Like,
oh my God. You walk out being like, what happened?
Right. Like literally like being hit by a truck, like being like, what happened just happened in this? Like, I can't even grasp it. I can't talk about it. Like, but have you ever had one of those? And that other person that you're communicating has probably had 10 other ones, right? Yeah. And it's like, they're able to be like, they're able to understand you on a level that other people won't, right? Because our significant others aren't in the legal community, right? Exactly. They're not in the legal space. Exactly. So like, I can't go to my fiance and be like, yo, you're never going to believe what happened at this discovery court hearing. He's going to be like, what? Like I do, like we'll still talk about it, but like he's not going to get it the same way, right? Same. I can go to a colleague in the law and be like, you are never going to, they're going to be like, what happened? And it's like, it's just so important, especially when you're in the legal community, to make sure that you are surrounding yourself with positive people, because it can be such a glooming thing. And when you do leave a deposition and you just feel just like destroyed, it is nice to be able to go to somebody else and be like, hey, let me tell you about what just happened.
A light bulb just went off in my head about how in law school they kind of talk to us about how the people that you're in school with and that you're going to work with are really important for like your professional network. But like no one ever talks about just surrounding yourself with people who like just get it, who will understand you. And it's good to form those relationships, because that becomes a support system for you, and a really important one, because you can have the best partner in the world. You know, I'm very lucky my partner will sit and listen to me talk about a deposition or a mediation or a really crappy day in court in front of a judge who hated me from the moment I opened my mouth. But it just, or my friends, like, you know, my best friends, none of them are lawyers, and they'll sit and they'll listen to me. But it's different from, you know, last night I was out with two girlfriends who I used to work with, and we all do the same kind of law. And it takes so much less like convincing as to why something went horribly wrong. Like they just get it, and it's less effort and it's more working through it than just like explaining why, you know, the way the judge spoke to you that day was so off, you know, off base or whatever, offside.
I think collaboration is so important, and I think it's so important in the legal community for a multitude of reasons, right? One, because it also holds people accountable, right? Like, I think I'm really huge on wage transparency. I'm really huge on like role transparency, because I think that as women, that's not always something that's talked about. We're very taught to be like hush hush about it. Yeah. And I think it's important, and also like just becoming a better attorney, like separate from those two other things, which I think are important. It's really important being another attorney and being a better attorney. I remember my boss saying things like, it's important for people to be more so in the office so people can communicate. And I like never got it. And now that I've been out for so long, I like get it. Like, I'm like, wow, is he right? Damn. You know what I mean? I'm like, I do miss being able to walk down the hall and go into another attorney's office and be like, listen to what just happened.
I know, that's
it's
the one.
Crazy.
I know, I agree with you. I do love working from home, but there is that like getting off the call, putting down the phone, and just going to your neighbor and being like, the fuck just happened. And
right,
debrief,
100%.
Immediate debrief, immediate support, immediate therapy, like immediate like thoughts on how to move
like how
forward.
bad was this? Like, was this like I always say to my coworkers, I'm like from a scale of 1 to 10, what was this? It's never been above a 2, but I'm always like swear it's 10. I'm like it's a 10. And
it feels like a 9.
Right? They're like it's a 2, and I'm like no, I swear it's a 10. It's like gotta be a 10. They're like it's a 2, because like in this field it sucks.
Yeah. It really does.
And you need somebody that's always on your side. Like my fiance will tell people I'm the greatest lawyer of all time. No. Right? Like that's the kind of spouse that you need. You need somebody who's like cheering for you, because sometimes the world ain't cheering for you.
No. And you're not going to work, like you said, you're not going to work getting a gold star every time you do a good deposition. The reward of doing a good job on a file and getting a file closed is getting another file. Your reward for good work is more work. Like, you are not, no one is saying, Heather, go to Paris. You have to say,
right.
I'm going to Paris, because at the end of the day, is that going to make a difference in your career 5 or 10 years down the road? Probably not, but you will always have the memory of getting engaged in France. That will
100%.
That will be exactly, right? Like, that's your life. That's Heather. That's not lawyer Heather, who is some hours a day. That's you as your life. And like, you weren't put on this earth to only work.
Right.
To only
100%.
work. And to only identify yourself as that. My last podcast question, and then I always have a random question, but my last question is, if you could go back and tell yourself one piece of advice when you were younger. Seems like you had an amazing role model, and even your parents, they're not lawyers, but they sound super smart and everything. But if you go back and give yourself one piece of advice, in law school, what would it be?
I think what it would be take everything with a grain of salt that the people around you are saying, because I think I had gone to law school, and I think most law schools like this, right? Where you are with people who have probably heard they were brilliant for the majority of their life.
Oh yeah.
My mom was a scientist and pretty brilliant, so she never told me I was brilliant. So I came into a situation where I had always been held accountable and been kind of told, you can do better, you can be better.
Right.
And I think you need to go into law school realizing that the people that you may be around may be thinking they have always heard that they're the best, and it's a harsh reality to fall from grace. In terms of the people realizing very quickly that you've all been told that, right?
Yeah.
You are around some of the smartest people you will ever meet.
Yeah.
And I think I just would have told myself to take what all of those people said with a grain of salt.
Me too. I wish you could go back and tell me. So I always ask this last random question that really has nothing to do with what we talked about. And this one's really funny because we've talked so much about how your confidence and your authenticity just shine through, and you're unapologetically yourself. But if you had to swap lives with someone for 1 week, living or dead, real or fake, for 1 week, who would that be?
I would have to say probably my favorite artist, Georgia O'Keeffe. I would love to be in somebody's body that had such an ability to make such gorgeous art.
Oh, yeah.
And I have so many of her pieces hanging in my house, replicas, obviously, paid for replicas.
I was gonna be damn girl.
Yeah, no, I wish. I can't paint at all.
Mm-hmm.
I can't draw, and while I do have a creative brain, I've always wanted to have that talent. To be able to look at something and recreate it in a beautiful way, in a way that moves people. I love that I get to do that with words, but I'd love to be able to do that with physical art. So I would say her, Georgia O'Keeffe.
I love that. That's a great answer. And I would argue that you do that, because I think modeling and creating content and speaking are all ways of moving people with a type of art that not everyone's capable of, and not everyone puts themselves out there to do. So I think that you do it in a different way, but I suck at painting too. It's fine. You can't be good at everything.
No, can't.
No. Well, I really, this has been, I've literally at a few points I was getting goosebumps because of the stuff you were saying. I'm so happy to have connected with you, and I can't wait to see the pictures from your wedding. You're so badass.
Thank you.
No, thank you, truly.
You are too.
Oh, thanks, man. So grateful for your time, Heather, really.
Thank you.
Have a good sleep. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye. All right, that was my chat with Heather Reese. Thank you for sticking around to the end. She has shared so much wisdom with me tonight that I literally got goosebumps 3 or 4 times. I'm really grateful for her sharing her story and her spark with us today. I hope that you walk away from this conversation feeling empowered to say yes to yourself a little more often and a little more boldly. And please remember to share this video with a friend or a colleague who you think might benefit from Heather's story and advice. And we have a whole bunch of other videos with some amazing, amazing guests on our channel too for you to check out. And they're all way cooler than me. So go check them out. And until next time, bye. That's okay. It was already messed up.